having a claim for a total loss of the entire value of the property are really, really pretty slim. And for that reason, most attorneys feel that the market value rider is really not a wise purchase, and they don't recommend that their clients get it. And in most cases, the market value rider is not purchased. Having said that, I've had a couple of attorneys, one guy in particular, sticks in my mind and says, you know what, I tell my clients to get it all the time. I tell them to get it all the time because I think, this is not me speaking, this is another guy speaking, I think for that relatively small amount of money, let's call it $500, otherwise a $5,000 title premium, it would be on like a $900,000 million piece of property, somewhere in that range, okay? So this guy's argument is, guys buying a piece of property for $1 million, for $500, I can give him complete total peace of mind for the entire time that he owns the property. And this lawyer said, I could also get some peace of mind for myself that nobody's going to come back to me with a malpractice claim, which I think is a far-fetched. I don't think there's any way, shape, I don't think there's any possibility that you could be hit with a malpractice claim because you didn't recommend a market value rider. I think that's a completely ridiculous assumption, but this lawyer feels that way. But his point, not a bad one, is, hey, guy's spending $1 million. He's got bank charges, he's got these charges, he's got title charges. His total all-in cost for this property probably $1.1 million or whatever it might be. $500 buys peace of mind for a lot of years. It's an interesting theory. It's one that most lawyers don't agree with. I throw it out there because it's worth mentioning it. When he made the argument in my class, I think he's a bright guy. He made it in a very, in a way that made some sense. But I just think that most people would say that that's a minority opinion. So the market value rider is really not purchased all that much. All right, so just to summarize this first main thing that title insurance insures, we want to ensure that you're really the person who's vested in title. And to do so, as I explained, we're going to be looking at the other guy, not at you, and his seller, 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 all the way back, as I say, to the Dutch purchasing Manhattan Island from the Native Americans, some 400 years ago. Or whatever the age of the property might be, wherever it is you're purchasing. That's the first major thing that title insurance covers. Probably the one that most people understand because you're thinking about real ownership of the property. Second major thing that title insurance insures is that the property is free of all liens and encumbrances. You see, I have that language up on a PowerPoint slide now. Let me explain what this means. So, again, everybody who's watching this has gone to law school. You probably have a pretty good understanding, or at least a basic understanding of how our state works when it comes to evidencing ownership of property. But again, I described a little bit earlier, you have a situation where at a closing table, there's a little piece of paper that gets slid across the table called a deed. Very powerful piece of paper. Might be a deed that you bought for $1,000. Might be a deed you bought for $1 billion, right? Depending on the property that you're buying. That little piece of paper, that deed, is then taken by somebody, usually the title company, and brought down to the county clerk's office in the county where the property is located, and it's recorded. And what that does is it puts the whole world on notice by looking at that deed or looking in the records in that county that property is owned by you. Right now, everybody knows, if they're curious about, hey, who owns 25 Smith Street in such and such town, they'll go to the county where that town is, where 25 Smith Street is, and now they'll be on notice that you own that property. We also live in a state where a determination has been made by our legislature that certain types of claims, certain types of debts can actually impair or can actually encumber your ownership to the property. So also by recording